Today I want to tell a story. It is a personal story. It's actually how I purchased my very first house at 23 years old. So I know when you're 23 or you're younger, buying a home or, setting down roots is like one of the last things you want to think about. But I am so thankful that that was one of the smarter decisions I've ever made in my entire life. So I want to tell you a little bit about how I did it, a lot of the benefits that sprang from it, and how you can do it. So first off, market was a little bit different. The market is always going to be changing, but guess what, guys? When I was 23, the interest rates were not where they are today. They definitely weren't in the threes. They were much, much higher. So that equated to a higher monthly payment, even though home prices were cheaper. It honestly about worked out to what we're seeing in today's market because of the interest rate difference compared to price. I've got another video about that. We'll talk about that later. But when it comes down to what you can afford monthly, right? A lot of people get hung up on what's my interest rate? What's this? The prices are too high. Honestly, it comes down to what your out-of-pocket going to be and what is your monthly payment going to be, right? That's what it all comes down to. So I met with a mortgage consultant. At that time, I was not a mortgage consultant myself. I was working as a personal banker at a bank, not making crazy money, just average guy, right? But one of the things I did have going for me was I didn't have a lot of debt. So again, I was 22. I drove a very old Toyota pickup truck. They are solid trucks. It was a 1998 Toyota Tacoma. I actually remember that truck really well. But anyway, I had a super low car payment on it because I think I paid $6,000 for it. I got a little loan at the bank. It was like $120 a month. It was something that I could afford. It didn't make it go crazy. When you're young, guys, you don't need a brand new car. Buy something that will get you from point A to point B. So get those payments nice and low. And same thing, I didn't have any credit card debt. I didn't have a ton of bills. I was renting a room with a buddy of mine. And so I was thinking one day, I was like, you know what? Because his brother had owned the house, right? So the house we were living in, his brother had owned it. We were paying him $500 for the room. So I was paying $500, he was paying $500. So in my head, I was thinking, this guy's bringing in $1,000 a month just from us living in his place. His mortgage payment can't be that much higher than that. And so that's exactly what I did. I had this idea, well, if I could buy a house, and keep in mind, I had no money for a down payment. Credit was pretty good and debt was pretty low. So those were a few things I had going for me. And those are honestly big recommendations that I make. Make sure you don't have a ton of debt. And when you're younger, you typically don't. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to go out and find a home. And this was in a time when there was lots of foreclosures. Well, that's not true. There was a lot of short sales. It was right kind of before the big crash had happened. So not the most ideal time to buy, but I'm going to explain why it still worked out. So I ended up finding a house. It was something that fit my budget. It was far. So what I had to do distance-wise was, in order to find the house that I could afford, was to make a 30-minute commute for myself. I had to buy on the outskirts of this tiny little town that at the time, even me, I had never heard of. I am from Arizona. I bought here in Arizona, but I had never heard of this little town that my realtor was showing me. But she took me there because those were the only homes in my price point. And so I wasn't willing to, go down in square footage or, there's other sacrifices you can make, but I chose distance at that time. I was like, you know what? I had a motorcycle. It was all good. I could drive back and forth to work. So that's what I decided to do. And again, one of the smartest decisions I ever made. The program that I used was a down payment assistance loan, so I had zero money out of pocket, and my monthly, it was honestly a little bit tight. I was kind of scared, but it was something I could afford. I was able to get approved. Long story short, I ended up buying the house, and that was my goal, right? I wanted to, get a couple renters in there. That way they could help pay for most of my mortgage. That's a different story, but it actually didn't work out that way. I ended up meeting my current wife today, and so she ended up moving in shortly after, and I never got to collect rent money from roommates, but it all worked out in the end. So anyway, one of the big benefits of that home, like I've said in several other videos, is it starts to earn equity. But in my scenario, when I bought, it actually did not earn equity for several years. It actually went down in value and I kind of freaked out. But I decided to stick with it. It was a manageable mortgage payment. I remember after my first year of being there, rates actually did get lower. So I looked at a refinance and I was able to save myself some money. So that, loosened up a little bit as far as where my monthly payment was. And then I honestly kept that loan I was in that house for about 10 years. I had 2 kids in that home, raised my family in there. So, my original plan to have it be an investment, it did turn into a family home, which has worked out great. But the point is, within that 10 years, the value from where I bought it compared to when I did decide to sell it had skyrocketed. So it was still a manageable payment, and we were looking to move up because, again, have 2 kids now. The house was getting a little bit small, decided to move on to the next level. Well, I definitely could not have purchased the home that I own, right, that I own now, if I had not bought that home when I was 22. Because of that equity that I made, when I decided to sell it, I made a good chunk of money. And with that chunk of money, I was able to make a down payment on the house that I have now. Whereas before, I don't know that I would have been able to save up that kind of money on my own. So I took that and I put it towards the down payment of my new house, made the payment manageable, and was something I was able to afford. And so that is why I am so passionate about this, because I have lived it myself. If you are, and it honestly doesn't matter what age you are, but if you are thinking about purchasing a home, do it now, because the equity that you will gain in that home, especially in the market that we're in today, is going to appreciate much higher than when I bought. So it's a great opportunity. So that, and again, your first home is probably not going to have everything you want. I made the choice of having a longer commute. You have to maybe make the choice of maybe having a smaller bedroom count, or not have as many, nice amenities in the home, maybe no marble countertops, stuff like that, but make those sacrifices. Find a home that's going to fit in your budget, that you can get in the door, let it earn equity, and then when the time comes, you want to move up, cash out and move on to the next one, or turn into a rental property if that's something you can do, because we've talked about down payment assistance is available for primary homes. It doesn't have to be your first time home. Rent that house out, make a little extra money, and then purchase your next one, and keep doing that. My situation, I had to wait several years for my home to earn equity. That's not the market we're in, guys. Take advantage of this. Get in a home now, let it start earning equity and work their magic for you. So, love to show you how to do it. You know exactly what you got to do. Be sure to like and subscribe the video, guys, and have a great day.